Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 8 of Kokomo, our modded Cities 2 build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In the previous episode, we established our first modular education campus in the form of a community college, sitting really nicely in what is going to become kind of a main suburban centre of the town of Saratoga. In today's episode, I want to continue to envelop the rail yard by growing the Mar grids out towards the east, whilst also factoring in some quintessential big box American vibes as our big American suburb continues to grow. But welcome back to Kokomo, everyone. I like big boxes. Hey guys, so we're starting with some horrific scenes over in the suburb by the rail yard, and we've got multiple car crashes. This sedan has crashed on his own. There's another one down here. And then is that burnt down? It has. the garbage truck itself has burned down. Taken out a parked car by the looks of it. How are we doing for road maintenance vehicles? Do these guys need to be expanded, I wonder? Possibly, yes. All 7 are out. So we'll stick the upgrade on the road maintenance building. And it might not be too long before we need another one of those. And then again, actually, all those are in maintenance, the new ones. So maybe they have to be maintained before they leave, but they're not leaving just yet anyway. So welcome back, everyone. So we're going to open up some new tiles today. Again, I don't want to open up loads of tiles at once, because I don't want to be left with loads of empty space. So I'm opening them slowly. I'm also going to grab this one today. And maybe that one as well. Might not need that one just yet. Because I'd like to plan in some of the interchange work I discussed in the last episode. I'm actually going to grab that one too, because I can see where I want to bring that arterial down. So let's continue with our Margrid expansions. We'll feed these through with Anarchy off, because I don't want to force the road tools to do anything else. So I'll time-lapse up the rest of the suburban roads, but this arterial here is very important. This is forming essentially one of the major Margrid frames, really. So quite an important road, likely to become 6, possibly 8 lane as well. So where are you going to go? You're approaching an interchange here. I'm just going to put Anarchy on briefly so I can connect at a 90-degree angle. And also just come through the tile boundaries as well. So that'll likely connect in with another slip ramp interchange onto the Autumn Highway here. Which is the one that runs this way. So again, that's going to become really important road eventually as well. So a significant interchange to hook it into the Margrid. And then the rest of these road frames here, let's just draw them out and down so we have something to work with today. So in previous episodes, I mentioned a big bundle actually leaving this interchange, but I think actually the interchange down the highway is probably best for that, considering there's already train here. All I need to do is add metro into it and keep this running as a couplet system basically, rather than it downgrading into 2 lane again. So a slight change of plans there for my plan. The diagonal bundle I think is going to emanate from here rather than here. Because otherwise I'm going to have big highways cutting right through this bit of the town, which I'm not really on board with, to be honest. So, slight revision there. But either way, I want to keep growing the suburb out. So, last episode, I wanted to use one of the leisure venues buildings. And the sports park complex here, which I think is going to sit quite nicely as part of the campus. So we'll have this in here. This comes from the Leisure Venues DLC. Gives you a whole load of big chunky looking assets that look so good in CS. Definitely one of the best DLCs the game's had so far. We also had some comments last episode about my forgetfulness to actually recolor the rest of the campus buildings. We'll do that now. Of course. Yeah, that looks so much better, doesn't it? Can't believe I forgot to do that. Wonderful. Even the offices as well. Everyone's going to go to this cute little peachy colour. Fantastic. Super. Yeah, there you go. Now it looks like one campus, doesn't it? That building's going to sit near perfectly behind, so the grid can form up there. So addressing our first of the big boxes, of course, if you've ever built an American city before or looked for inspiration on Google Earth, you're going to see these pretty enormous commercial lots. Now I'd like to use the sporting goods store from the Supply Chains DLC, which possibly has the biggest box of them all, doesn't it? Such an impressive, awesome corner asset, this one. I think we're going to have actually blends in with the grass quite nicely, doesn't it? But just come pre-detailed with a lot of car parking, which is exactly what we want. And again, the glory of a Margrid project. These assets are going to fill each of these grids very nicely. And to address this one here with the lake. Now, last episode I spoke about adding a college dorm. Now, can I place this and turn it off? Because I don't need to pay the upkeep on it yet, because college education is, yeah, well above the threshold. But I at least want to account for the space that it's going to take up. Of course, given we have water, we'll absolutely make this a whole walkable space. I'm also going to draw out some piers onto the lake as well. And I just want to pull those end nodes at the water down a little bit. And then I think we'll get another supplementary football pitch in here, which can complement, of course, the vibes across the road. Right. Give a bit of a sports vibe to our college campus on the edge here, won't it? Super. This isn't going to be the only big box store then, we want several more. In terms of unique buildings we've unlocked already, I think a Morrissey's supermarket from the UK pack will settle in here decently enough, I think. And this is based on Morrison's, a UK chain if you didn't know. Yeah, again, it's not overly British themed, is it? It's certainly going to look quite impressive down the main street here. Like, won't all be unique buildings. Let's bring in some zoning. I'm going to want deep zonings here. So we'll go 6 deep from this angle. And we'll leave a bit of a break between the commercial and the residential. I don't really want people living immediately next door to this. And then we can have our own tree lines through here. Just something to separate away from there, from these smaller homes. Addressing this is just going to be our outer-lying suburbia, satisfying low-density demands. Again, which is all in a crescendo up to this service centre here, if you like. And I think for this one, we'll just go with waterfront homes. Yep, North American low-density waterfront housing. And then those that aren't by the water are just going to be our usual suspects of southwest low density through here. Keep this sprawl going. I know a lot of you might be concerned at the amount of, single family home land usage wastage, but it's very much a theme, especially in the American Margrid cities. So city planning enthusiasts, bear with it. I promise it'll look good once it grows out across the entire grid, right? It'll be fun. Let's continue moving through the world of large big box. Again, we've also got some parks that can function as such. You won't quite fit there, will you? That's okay though. This is another nice corner asset. So we'll tuck this one in the corner here. Again, this is essentially just a massive park. It's just giving us indoor recreation. But the visual we want to construct today is building surrounded by car parking. And we can do some of our own to that point as well. Let's bring in perpendicular parking alleyways. So we'll bring that against the edge of the building, but that's a little bit too much of one straight for me. We'll have some other roads come off here that don't go back down. into the road. You're just accessing the car park via this direction. And I won't do the same there. We'll get another bit of zoning in there. Let's do a single large office, which demand has just dropped for. But hopefully that'll come back in. Could always just plop it as well. I'll try not to in that regard. I will try and respect exactly what the simulation wants, so our economy stays somewhat balanced, which it has done so far. Although after recent additions today, we're only making 6 grand an hour at the minute, so maybe some specialised industry in the not too distant future here. A lot of this southwest stuff is zoned in, which are the assets I wanted. But I'm probably going to historicalise a few of them and let the other ones change. It's a little bit too much asset repetition here for me. But I'll leave them zoned. I'll just let them move up through the levels. In terms of other little municipal services I want to bring in here. I'm actually just browsing at the post-sorting facility. Wonder if we unlock this. You know what? That would fit really nicely, wouldn't it? Near the highway. Will give us an absolute vast amount of post-sorting, of course, given what the building is. I think there's certainly something to be had for it being sat, particularly in this orientation by the highway. Might even shift the angle here a little bit. Bring that grid down. Yeah, well, let's give that a little bit of experiment. Let's take this out. And then essentially just rotate the building. And have it sat here. So it's right by the highway. I've spoken in this series and pretty much every series I've ever made about power. Positioning important infrastructure by important roads. There's one for your build. Not bothered about whole zoning here. The grid isn't going to be zoned, so it's not massively important. This does have a few upgrades, one of which gives storage capacity, which again we don't really need yet. There's the actual loading ramps. Yeah, again, I can see that sitting there, right? But I don't need that capacity just yet. We also haven't addressed any medium density for a while as well, so we'll bring in some southwest row homes here. Asking them to be 4 deep, although we won't make the blocks absolutely massive. So we'll zone them in, and then I'll feed a little alleyway road behind them, which we can use for helping to divide up our blocks here. Make sure these guys don't grow in the interior. We'll do some nice tree lining behind those. And I'll keep this going. I mean, I guess up to there is going to be fine, isn't it? Let's do that there. We'll stick some tactical cul-de-sac on the end. And then feed up another block of row homes here. So this is going to continue to add to our very small crawling height here. If we get ourselves, say, over in the deep suburbs here. You can see just these little rises, right? Just more medium density. We can see the climbing building, post sorting the big box buildings here as well. And the row homes are going to help with that very gradual crawl up. And not really looking to play with towers or anything here. Let's come ahead and also give some fencing here to our big box store here. And the grid is obviously really easy for just dividing up these individual lots, developments that the city has. Let's also continue to add cycling into the equation. We'll do a couple small cycling halls over here. We'll have an underground one on the corner. We also want to keep cycling lanes coming down here as well, which will remove my grass lining, which is slightly disappointing, but I can live with it. And that's going to go all the way down. Now, I did mention possibly intersecting it with this suburb, which isn't really utilising any cycling at all. We do also want to address buses. Let's bring in the bus shelters. So, of course, these guys are going to emanate from here. So I'll have plenty of stops down Main Street. And we'll do every other block here. It's going to continue down there at some point, or at least a form of bus will. But then I'd also like some smaller shelters in the actual suburban grid itself. So let's get them to come up along the shoreline here. Picking people up from the suburb. That'd be good. And then it can loop back down this way. And then let's finish off the grid here, so we know exactly where the bus can maneuver around. So that allows us to move through here, again, which is going to be mostly made up of low density here, so it'll all be commuters with the computers grabbing the buses. And then we'll start one of these new lines. I think it's likely to be a mirrored configuration. So you're going to come and stop here. Move through this way. I think we're going to keep these two here, but this bus isn't going to stop at these two. This can intersect with another bus line that will probably connect to a different suburb. But at some point I'm going to have to stop relying on the buses because it's just going to get too low capacity. I'll have to bring trams in at some point. Which is uncharacteristic for me because it usually trams the first thing I go for. And then we'll grab the next one, which will just run, of course, in the mirrored direction. We're just naming these the Saratoga East Loop 1 and 2. Just so we know what they are. And I want to make them contrasting colours. We'll do a white and a black. Just makes it easier to identify what lines are running in a mirrored configuration of one another then, really. We've got tons of people coming down this road, haven't we? Quite a lot of them indeed. This is where I said I think I might just do a little bit of one more lane, bro. If I can come in for 5-lane asymmetry here. Just on the main road, I think. Rather than the side ones, Camberwell Street in this instance. Already. That's very busy, isn't it? Very busy indeed. That is a pretty important road down there, though. Heading back to the rail yard. And it's nice to actually see them already picking up these networks, despite the fact there's nothing built over here yet. But there we go. Finally, more and more cyclists are starting to appear. I feel like they take a lot longer to actually pick up the cycling system than they do in CS1. So, that might help. We'll see. Maybe another parking building here, actually. For the bikes, that is. We'll grab large bicycle hall. Just give us another milestone. Wonderful stuff. The Brunswick Corner building has unlocked. Towers, Round Office, Sunset Brewery. We could use that today. Eclipse Nightlife, Pyrian Plaza, Bell Creek. So many. Oh my god, there we go. Absolutely tons. And then I'll partner that with an underground car park as well. Which can function as a bit of a entrance into this green little lake space that's developed, right? Get lots of nice detailing in here. Which will be another one of these little green pops that's eventually enveloped by the vast grid over here as well. We are also having complaints of hearses. Now, we do only have one graveyard placed in the city. So that's 76%. A crematorium might not be the worst addition to the city. We'll unlock them via the tech tree. Now, we could have the Dutch crematorium in here. I think it would be a bit strange to have it around, well, in the big box complex. But if we put it on the corner here again, is this an asset that particularly screams death care? Beside the hearses parked up inside, not particularly, is it? And it kind of sits nicely there, actually. I'm not massively against that. We'll give it a car park as if it's maybe an attraction or an office or something. You come through here. Might actually make that one way because I want to use the side angled parking here. And then have that go down. Yeah, okay, I'm pretty happy with that. That's going to give us extra death care. Because, of course, the only current death care facility in the city is the graveyard over in the start of Saratoga. So we're starting to get complaints that hearses aren't quite making it over here in time. I think that'll be quite a good addition for the services here. We did just unlock some unique buildings, though, so I'm keen to check those out to see if they'll blend in with today's build. The Brunswick Corner building is a really nice asset, but I think it's a little too high density. At the higher end of medium density for me, I think. The Oasis kitchen is also a very, very Florida asset, isn't it? I think this deserves to be on the main road, though. I'm actually going to move this down a little bit. Probably on a corner junction. Again, super Florida looking asset this, isn't it? A little restaurant on Main Street here. I mean, even that main crawl now is so cool, isn't it? Look at that. See the little medium density pop of the college campus over there from last episode. Even the power lines in the far distance over there too. Plus the low rent we put in the few episodes again as well. Lots of people walking around here. That traffic seems to have moved on. Looks like one more lane, bro, does actually work in this very specific instance of it. Well, I'll be happy with that. And we are eating into our profit though by expanding so much services, especially that post-sorting facility is costing us a fortune, I think, isn't it? And only one delivery van in use. Is there anything we can derive from the telecom infographic here? No, not particularly. But more taxpayers. I'm just going to keep the residential growing out here. All of these grids beside the main street ones are just going to grow to be Southwest housing. So over here by the highway, I'd like to flatten out the lip that comes off the embankment. And then just use a road to demarcate the edge of industrial developments. Again, tactical cul-de-sac. Using better bulldozers to remove the fence from the post-sorting facility. And then we use the surface, of course. From that, bring it up to the cul-de-sac. Of course, removing those trees. And then let's search. I mean, can we pick the prop from this? Yeah, it will actually. Shipping container large. And then we'll have a few orientations of shipping container here. That'll just expand the post-sorting facility for us. Try and stick to the larger ones if I can. Again, flattening the land so it's not all bent up and around like that. Steal some large containers here as well. Maybe even, I think one of the, maybe a little shed out here is fine. Then we'll grab ourselves the best fencing in the game, of course, the chain link, to replace it across the entire facility here. Now let's bring in our dusty old highway belt again over here. Do a little bit of softening just where we terraform perhaps too harshly. Now there's possible arguments here for extra slip ramps just to come off the highway. I'm a little bit reluctant to try it just because I think it might be too busy, but we'll give it a go. We'll choose constant slope and then from here send you straight down. Not completely omnidirectional, I'm not looking for full highway access here. Again, we could also do it from here as well. If anything, it might be more useful for the industrial traffic in the area to take this route back out of the various industrial rail yard districts. They're subject to change, but I think I'm just going to leave them in during the detailing time lapse and see what happens to them. I have a feeling they're going to get too busy, but if they will help just siphon the pressure off of this one, not that it's really busy at all anyway, but some non-omnidirectional slip ramps that just let people peel off if they want to. Yeah, I'll leave the simulation running while they're in and just see how the... Oh, there you go. And just see how the AI responds to it, really. Also makes the road network start to look a little bit more impressive as well, doesn't it? With these little ramps tucked in amongst the road network. But either way, I think we're ready for some detailing. I'm just going to carry on expanding the big box vibes, large, 6 deep and above assets. Complimentary car parking, prop work, trees. Our usual American suburban dream as we box off this last little area of Saratoga here, at least this side of the highway. So grab yourself some snacks and we'll be right back with Kokomo detailing time lapse. Alright guys, let's have a look around northern Saratosa, shall we? Just to touch on that point again with the district tool, I've expanded the boundary of Saratosa now to follow these highway roads and then back up the highway. So the highway road is essentially demarcating where Saratosa ends, at least this district anyway. And today we developed the northern side. I actually checked where the sun was rising from. Looking this way is easterly down this road. So today we ended up building northern Saratosa out. And I have to say, probably the title of today's video, like the redemption arc this game is having in 1.6. This is possibly the most realistic cityscape I've ever personally put together. I'm absolutely loving how this is looking. And already how it's sprawling across this canvas, right? Just so much fun. I really can't recommend it enough. Love the Motherboard projects. Down by the highway, we were having some traffic issues, which have alleviated now. Chucked in a roundabout, lots of surface painter. Touch a node control as well, just widening off these roads, which of course, given the road tools in CS2, all intersection mark themselves, which is absolutely delicious. Really like this. And a little bit of asymmetry also present in the road network too. One of Bad Peanuts crossings, which links us into a low rent housing estate by one of the UK gas stations just off the highway. Actually, no, these are French, aren't they? Yeah, these are French assets, sorry. Yeah, but low rent assets all the same. Again, just in less desirable, slightly grim parts of the city. Some cheaper housing is available. Zoned commercial and industry. That sits next to a lot of office park stuff around here. And I really like that theme that perhaps, you know, the technical campus here is feeding interns, apprentices, graduates into the various office park and sort of, I guess, high-techy sort of businesses in this area. The expansion of the campus has turned out really nicely. Of course, the presence of the expansion building. Some light cafe detailing, food eatery stuff around the back of the cycle halls. Which, are they getting any use? 1%, so no is the answer. Only 5 people. So I'm not sure with the cycling infrastructure, really. They don't seem too fond of it. Maybe I just haven't figured out the right way to implement it yet. But not as busy as I would like it to be regardless. Even with the policy on. Through here, I chucked in the Bouncy Castle Park, which happened to tether really nicely onto my current existing path network. Which then brings us into that wider expanded sports campus place on the edge of the community college here. So I really like this whole area. Plenty of car park detailing through this way. There's also a road that connects up through the back here as well, granting access as well. Pretty much no one in this car park, which is quite surprising. But I guess there is parking on the roads, so maybe they're using that instead. But some of the car parks are getting use regardless. Back over here, the suburb has grown out again with more car parking behind all the commercial lots here. I'm still waiting for some of them to grow up. Some of them have changed. We've got another quite impressive corner building here to sit opposite the sporting goods store. But yeah, I'll just wait for these to level up. I obviously don't want the same asset in mass repetition. Even though if we did fuse them together, it might look like kind of a UK retail park storefront actually. More than Florida, I would say. But yeah, either way, just zoned commercial here and residential. Which again, all has a really nice climb up to that kind of central commercial district, you know. This is a very much a... You've got a day off in Saratosa, so you're either heading to the beach on the town centre over there, or you're coming shopping over here, you know. It's one of those sorts of bits of the cities. Now, last episode's clock tower blending in very nicely down the road here. I've rebranded the post office to be another onshore site, which is very exciting indeed. And the ability to trim off the signage using the Better Bulldozer mod to essentially repurpose an asset into whatever you want, right? This just looks like a massive distribution centre now. Now it has no post signage on it. And this whole facility has been fenced off, as you would imagine, with it being quite heavy industry and logistics. A little bit of signage down here with some security booths on the road. And the same thing on all entrances into this facility as well. With a plopped industry building and some light detailing. We actually had no industry demand. I think it's the first time in CS2 I've actually quelled the industry demand. Which isn't surprising because we've got quite a lot of it in the city. But you can't really tell, can you? It's quite nicely integrated, if I do say so myself. I feel like I'm doing a much better job of integrating it than I can do in CS1 for some reason. And then just a little bit of surface painted boundary green belt on the edge of the onshore facility. And this really looks kind of like a major employer, doesn't it? You can imagine a lot of the people living here will work at that big onshore site. And from the logistics point of view, it's at 107% full employees. So they all seem very happy. We do have quite a lot of worker demands across the city, which is surprising considering we've jumped up a few thousand in population today. But there'll be residential over here eventually, so they will come to be satisfied at some point. Further from this, around the row homes in the middle of the suburb, dropped in a couple of parks, removed a few surfaces, some quintessential texture painter pathways, of course. And then even fused in some row homes on the corner, just to kind of round it off. And yeah, just a nice little row home block. Again, a touch of medium density, if you will. Still waiting for some of them to zone in here, actually. We must have lost the demand. And then some more custom placed commercial here on the main street, one of the Dragon Gate buildings. Imagine maybe a big Asian market or just very elaborate Chinese restaurant, which some of them can be. There's actually one I went to in Southampton that was like an imperial palace, but just a Chinese restaurant. Yeah, quite funny really. But yeah, fits in nicely along with other plopped buildings, respecting corners, car parking behind, with some really nice little weavy alleyway roads all between this commercial. I really love how all the blocks sit. Even though we are playing so gridded, it's quite easy to integrate curves and bends with all these little nuances in the nodes, isn't it? Angle shifts in the suburban frame. Curves. A lot of fun to play with over here. So this all sits in very nicely before the suburb dissipates. And then over here, I had a little look off camera what I'm going to do. Not all directions are being served, so Honeysuckle Highway doesn't connect with Cypress Wood Highway. So when we come to develop it, I think I'm always going to merge these two interchanges. So to briefly just visualize what that's going to look like. So we brought off another bridge here. And then this went over that way to some extent. To then curve around and link up with the directions. Also having metro flowing through this, and more likely move the train a bit closer. So all these networks become kind of a continuous bundle. A little bit like we did in Rannoch, for those of you that follow my CS1 content. I did also destroy the interchange. So sign of things to come. So I'm going to leave all this riverfront open because it's likely to develop into something much more significant. Maybe a canal system, maybe, built out of the river. Essentially kind of keep this straight angle of the water going, but as a man-made water network through the city. I'm not sure. I'll probably have to put some reasonable planning and logistics reason behind why that's there. Water police might also think it's too narrow to build a canal off this river. I'm not sure. We'll see. But yeah, just to think out loud about future upcoming plans and episodes. But otherwise, guys, that will round off today's build. Thoroughly enjoying Kokomo as always. I seriously just can't stop playing it. It's an awful lot of fun. There's a brand new game coming to the channel this week in the Project Zomboid Noobs Guide, my classic kind of hand-holdy tutorial format, exactly like you got with Cities Skylines, but for another one of my favourite games in Project Zomboid. So don't forget to check that out on Friday if you're interested. I'd really appreciate the support on it. And thank you for the continued support on CS2. And the views are really good on this series, and it's probably my favourite to make at the minute, probably just ahead of Ilium, I would say. This game's redemption arc has been fantastic. I've also finally found out my graphic settings as well. You probably noticed it looks slightly different towards the end of the video. I'm still tweaking it every time, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to settle on this, I think, for once. But hang around for the cinematics now. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.